This button is one of the scariest on the internet because when you press it, it changes everything. You stop being a viewer and you become a creator. Now I know that thought is both terrifying and exciting in equal measure. So today, I'll walk you through exactly how to turn that fear into your very first YouTube upload. Everyone overthinks their first video idea when they're essentially starting with nothing. And I get it. When 20 million videos are being uploaded to YouTube every single day, it feels like everything's been done already. But that's the trap of the new creator. Your first video doesn't need to be unique, but it does need to be clear. And the good news is, you're not starting from scratch. Some creator out there has probably already made something very, very similar. Yeah, and your job is to find out what worked and make it your own. And here is how you're going to do it. Through some very simple arts and crafts. The topic is the video idea, what you're going to talk about. The format is how you're going to deliver that topic through a review, a vlog, whatever suits your skills best. And the angle is your unique twist that's going to make this video topic and this video format truly yours. For example, let's say you're a tech channel and you have the latest iPhone. Instead of a fairly generic title such as iPhone 17 review that every creator is going to be using, why not go with I tried the iPhone 17 for a week and this one thing surprised me. This creator basically took that idea and their video is going viral. Essentially, what this allows you to do is take existing video ideas that are proven to work and reframe them with your personal experiences. And this allows you to put forward your thoughts and personalities in the videos that you make. But how do you find these ideas that are proven to work? Well, that's where vidIQ's outlier tool comes in. It instantly shows you which topics or formats are spiking in performance. In this example, the video is performing 12 times better than the average for the channel, which is pretty damn impressive. If you don't have it yet, just sign up to vidIQ for free and install the browser extension. Once you've installed it, you'll see this outlier score, whether it be good or bad, on pretty much every YouTube video. And the higher the number is, the more solid that proof of concept is. And you can go really deep with this tool using our web application. Type in the topic you want to research, add filters such as channels under 10,000 subscribers, just like you, and then reveal hidden gems that are making big outlier videos. And would you know it, that same video idea has come up again. But before you get your camera and start filming, we need to stop for a second. Something that's very important that we need to do at this point is to simplify everything. So now that you have this idea, let's run it through a simple checklist. First of all, is it feasible? Do you actually have the skills and the equipment to film this video idea? And secondly, is there demand? Does it solve a problem or spark curiosity? Thirdly, can you add something personal or different to the idea? And finally, are you genuinely excited to make it? Now, if you are nodding yes to all of these questions, then congratulations, that is your green light to proceed. But this is where you're likely to encounter your first dose of YouTube reality. Your first video is very unlikely to go viral. It's more likely that it'll get numbers like this. But if we're being honest with ourselves as creators, the goal of your first video isn't for it to go viral, it's to get it done. Because once you do press publish on your very first YouTube video, then you do have, at the very least, real data to work with. And that real world data is far more valuable than any perfect video idea that's still sitting around in your notes app on your phone. So to get your YouTube journey off the launch pad, don't wait for the best idea to fall into your lap. Start with a workable one. But that is just the beginning. I did promise I'd walk you through the entire process of making your first YouTube video. So let's jump into thumbnails next. I know that you've probably already heard this a million times over in your YouTube education. But the problem is, millions of creators still get this wrong every single day because they insist on doing it backwards. They've spent hours, maybe even days, filming and editing their video, and now that it's finally done, they can't wait to get it on YouTube. So they just throw together a thumbnail in the 5 minutes before they press publish. Don't be that person. Your thumbnail, and let's not forget the title, should be the first thing you create right after your video idea. We'll get to titles later, but for now, let's fix the thumbnail. A great YouTube thumbnail tells you what's happening and why you should care in 2 seconds or less, because that's all the time you have with the viewer before they move on. Take this thumbnail from Yes Theory. Who's they? And what are they hiding? And that's it. Curiosity triggered, mission accomplished, video clicked. So when you're designing a thumbnail, remember this important rule. It's not about showing everything. It's about showing just enough to make people ask a question. Get them curious. And whatever thumbnail you decide to make, yeah, we're back to this again. Keep it simple. One subject, one emotion, one clear focus. If your thumbnail looks like a family photo where you're trying to squeeze absolutely everything into it, you've already lost because you're going to confuse the viewer. Use negative space and clear fonts. Make sure the subject of the thumbnail is big enough so that viewers on mobile phones can see it clearly. The majority of people use YouTube in dark mode, and if you don't, you've got some serious problems that I just can't help you with. But in dark mode, you can add some real punch to your images. Boost the brightness, increase the contrast, and pick colors that really pop. Warm tones like red and yellow really feel energetic and exciting, whereas cooler tones such as blue and green feel calm and smart. So pick the vibe that matches your story. And yes, faces on thumbnails do still work. Just look at our channel. We're not just vain narcissists. Just be careful not to go overboard with those fake smiles. Instead, use authentic emotion, curiosity, frustration, pride, joy. Those little micro moments that make people connect instantly. And the best news is, if you thought ahead of time about the thumbnails you want, then during the recording process, you can take those perfect thumbnail images. Smile, pose, exaggerate the moment, whatever fits the need of your thumbnail. The last thing you want to do is rely on still frames during the editing process that just never work as thumbnails. Those few extra seconds during the filming process to take thumbnails can be the difference between 10 clicks and 10,000 clicks on the video when it's uploaded to YouTube. And once your video is live on YouTube, you can test and compare different thumbnails at the same time right in the YouTube studio. You can upload a second thumbnail, even a third one, let YouTube swap between them and see which one wins. Just make sure to test and compare thumbnails with significant changes so you can really get an idea of what works best on your channel. However, thumbnails are only part of the packaging process when it comes to uploading those videos to YouTube. Let's talk about the packaging marriage that's supposed to be wrapped up in heaven, but rarely is. Thumbnails and titles. They're typically only 5 to 10 words long, and yet they could make or break your video. Many creators will spend weeks perfecting their video and then call it something like, my first vlog. You know, I think it might be time to use that phrase again. Yeah. Don't be that person. It would be the equivalent of calling your new pet dog, Dog. A great YouTube title doesn't simply describe the video, the what and the how. It tells you the why. It sells you the curiosity behind the video. Take this video by Ryan Trahan. I traveled 3,624 miles with 1 cent. Paired with the thumbnail, you're thinking, how did he end up with more money? What happened in between, and why say 1 cent instead of no money? You see, none of this is random. It is very intentional. Your brain hates open loops. It needs answers to all of these questions. And the only way to get them is, of course, to click. That's how great titles work. They open up loops that your mind, as the viewer, needs to close. So this is how you can write titles that do essentially the same thing, once again through the help of my glorious arts and crafts whiteboard. Study what's working. Lead with the hook, and perhaps most importantly, choose your words carefully. But what does all of that really mean? So when it comes to studying what's working, search your niche, sort the videos by most popular, and look for patterns. You'll start to notice that all of the viral titles have 2 things in common. They're clear and they're curious. Every single one of them makes you ask how, what, and why something happened. As for leading with the hook, make sure that you front load your YouTube title with the most important thing at the beginning of it, because on mobile devices, titles can be cut off. And you don't really want that curiosity trigger being hidden. A general rule is to keep your titles under 60 characters in length. Remember, you've only got 2 seconds with a viewer, and anything longer than that, it's just getting too wordy. And as for choosing your words carefully, well, one word can change everything. When Ryan Trahan uses 1 cent in the title, that makes the task sound impossible, and yet he still did it. How? Unexpected, secret, proven. These are all what you might call power words in a YouTube title. They make people curious, but there might be specific power words that are related to your niche. For example, here at vidIQ, we've been using the power word small channels in our titles for years, because it's an absolute view magnet. And of course, always be testing. Just like thumbnails, you can test and compare different titles at the same time when you upload your video to YouTube. Trying 2 versions of a title might be one is emotional and one's factual, or focusing on a different topic. In this example, one of the titles focused on it being a monetization update, and that won a lot more clicks. And remember what we said at the very beginning, the title and the thumbnail are a team. The thumbnail catches the viewer's attention, it sparks curiosity, and the title completes that thought. Together, they form a question that the viewer has to get answered. So here we are, back to your first video uploaded to YouTube. Before you press publish, look at that title and ask yourself, would I click on this video if I saw it on the homepage? If you're having to think about it, you need to rewrite it. On the other hand, if you think your packaging is going to convince the viewer to click, nice job. Now we've got to get down to writing the damn video. After you hit publish and then check the analytics in the YouTube studio, your retention graph is probably going to look something like this. That steep decline at the start, that's where most of your viewers leave, usually within the first 30 seconds of a video. Now the key thing here is not to panic. This hockey stick graph is very typical for all creators, but a big mistake new creators make is... Hey guys, it's Rob here. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're feeling grand today. Make sure to like and subscribe. Oh, and there's one more thing you can do today as well. It's all of this wonderful hype stuff. Get me hyped. No, your viewers haven't got time for any of this nonsense. Plus, you can't use the hype button yet. You haven't got 500 subscribers. In the intro, what's commonly known as a hook, you haven't really got time for chat. This isn't a podcast. So here is a simple way to fix it. Start by matching the promise of the packaging. The first frame of your video should look similar to your thumbnail. The first sentence that you speak should be similar to your title. That instant connection confirms with the viewer that they've clicked on the right thing and they're in the right place. And once you've delivered on that first promise, open up a brand new curiosity loop that keeps the viewer watching. Now at first, I thought this productivity hack would save me hours. But in reality, everything took twice as long, so make sure you don't make this mistake. Then follow up with some quick context, 1 or 2 lines explaining why the video exists in the first place. I have spent so much time editing in my professional career that I wanted to see if AI could help me out. That's enough, no life story is required. And demonstrate effort early. People value what looks like work. This took 17 hours to edit. I just can't do it anymore. That type of little signal tells the viewer this video is worth their time. And one last thing, wherever possible, show, don't tell. If you're explaining something, show visuals to reinforce it. If you're building something, show the build. And if you're reacting, show your face. If you can keep more than 70% of your audience watching your video after the first 30 seconds, then you're ahead of most creators in this YouTube world. The flatter this graph is, the more satisfied your viewer is and the more positive signals that are going to be sent back to YouTube. Now to give this video hook or intro the best possible chance to succeed, you want to make it impactful and concise, which means breaking it down word for word. Essentially writing a script, which is great. Having said that, the main body of your video doesn't necessarily need a script. It doesn't need to be that detailed. But what it does need is structure. Because if you don't have one, you'll probably end up with a 45-minute recording that you have to edit that's full of rambling, stream of consciousness, and you going, half the time. Now, given that we are deep into this video, you should know by now that we need a lovely little formula to explain the structure of a video. And no, that's not a dirty word. What we do need is a setup. followed by progress. And finally, the video always needs a payoff. You're gonna need me to explain this, aren't you? The setup is where you give context, essentially the why behind the video. So the questions you need to ask yourself as a creator are, what am I trying to do or figure out? Why should the viewer care? And what's the goal or problem I'm sharing and trying to solve? A lot of this setup relates back to your intro or hook. It gives the viewer a reason to stay beyond those vital first 30 seconds and then sets up part 2. This is the middle or the meat of a video where most of your story happens. What steps am I taking? What's going right and what's going wrong? What is the conflict, the tension, the obstacles are coming up to stop me reaching my goal? This is where you can include those little aha moments or uh-oh moments where you're closing and opening new curiosity loops to keep the viewer watching. And if something unexpected happens, lean into it. That's where your authenticity and personality can really shine. And finally, we reach the payoff where every story needs closure. And even if that story didn't go in the way you intended it to go, there still needs to be a payoff. Structuring your videos will help you get closer to these types of metrics. YouTube released these numbers a few years back to show you how deep viewers get into videos. And even the very best creators struggle to keep half their audience after 15 minutes. So whether you are an entertainment channel, a vlogging channel, even an educational channel, this simple formula is designed to help you tell stories, which you can do no matter what niche they are, and keep them clear and concise that match your video idea. And now, you know what? It might actually finally be time to start recording something. Now, unless you as a creator are in a few very specific niches, your goal when filming isn't to make everything look cinematic. The number one goal of your video, put plain and simple, is to make it watchable. Anything beyond that is just icing on the cake. And what I mean by that is nobody cares how fancy your setup is if they can't hear what you're saying. So here is what truly matters. Yeah, I set up this entire scene just to show you this. And it basically means audio is always far more important than video. You can get away with dodgy lighting and a slightly blurry camera, but bad audio is always an instant turn off for viewers. The good news is it's easier and cheaper than ever to get solid audio, even from your phone. Wireless microphones are very affordable these days and will sound way better than your phone's microphone, which is usually 2 or 3 feet away from your voice. And if you can record in a room with curtains and carpets, that's going to absorb a lot of the echo. Now then, if you're filming on your phone rather than a camera, make sure to use the rear-facing camera when you can, because the image is just going to be a lot sharper. Now you can shoot in 1080p, 4K, 24 frames a second, 30 frames a second, 60 frames a second. Ideally, what you want to do is match the quality of a camera to any B-roll you might be using. You can lock exposure and focus on both Android and iPhone cameras to maintain a certain level of consistency in the videos that you're recording. And please, before you do any recording on your phone, make sure to clean that lens, because this thing is doing nothing but gathering dust and debris when it's in your pocket. Good lighting doesn't have to be expensive lighting. More often than not, natural light from a window will be more than sufficient. But if you are going to use artificial light, then you want it around about a 45-degree angle to your head, just so that it's not blasting in your face, especially if you're wearing glasses. And you probably don't want to put them up to full power, because the light will just bounce off everything and you'll look like a ghost. Just to give you an idea of how the shot normally looks, the light now is set at just 40% brightness, but I've also got 2 lights behind me at a very low power reflecting off a wall, which separates me from the background. Your eyes should sit above the middle of the frame with a little bit of headroom as well, and your shoulders should always be visible. That's your anchor point. This will give you the greatest range of flexibility if you want to cut into the shot when you're saying something serious. I have literally nothing serious to say at this point. Now, as for your background, it doesn't have to look like this, which is one hell of a weird flex. but try and slice up your frame into 3 pieces. You will typically occupy at least one column of that frame, so the other sections can be left to window dressing, whatever you want that to be. I'm not going to say that your viewers are going to judge what's in your background, but if you can have some subtle, even subconscious references to the topic that you're talking about, it creates an authentic connection with the viewer. And then, once you've built up a little bit of experience, then you can really start to experiment and have some fun with not only the lighting, but the backgrounds as well. But if we're being deadly serious for a moment, the aesthetics, the visuals, the audio of the video should match the tone and mood of the video. I'm sorry, I can't keep a serious straight face. Let's move on. Now, there are all sorts of interesting tricks you can use to keep the viewer engaged and watching for longer. For example, if you're doing some sort of challenge, you can set up a timer. I have no idea what this is counting down to. Or you can use props to communicate things in interesting ways, such as the whiteboard I've been using throughout this video. Yeah, I didn't finish this for. Or you can just leave things to fate. Heads you subscribe, tails you don't. Ah, shh. And of course, if all else fails, if you have a cute pet, perfect. Except for cats. Remember, cats are stupid. It's also worth mentioning that just like with thumbnails that you should be capturing the image while you're recording, to also film some B-roll footage that might go over any voiceover moments in your content. And finally, this is a pretty simple rule. Where possible, if you say it, also try to show it. Whew, what an effort that was, but you finally finished filming your first video. But in some ways, this is where the real work begins. The edit. Here's the raw and simple truth about video editing. It's not really about all of the fancy effects, transitions, or even the new AI tools that you have at your disposal. Editing, at its fundamental roots, is all about keeping the viewer engaged, keeping them watching. Retention is your #1 goal, and that is done through editing. Now, most new creators tend to over-edit to perfection, or what they think is perfection, and they spend months doing it before they even publish their first video, or they under-edit to the point where they film something and literally upload that to YouTube. You want to find yourself somewhere in the middle. Tight editing, but human editing. So I'm going to try and break this all down with the help of our editor. So step 1 is to build your editing timeline like a story. Before you get close to any of the fancy stuff like visual effects, first drag all of your clips into the editing timeline and build up that setup, progress, payoff order that we talked about earlier in the video. That is going to be your essential roadmap for the entire video. You essentially want to cut out anything that doesn't serve the story. If a clip doesn't move the video forward or it lacks personality, it's just clutter, it's not needed. Yep, as hard as this is, it's what's called killing your darlings. No matter how long you took to prepare a certain clip, if it doesn't serve a purpose, then it's not going in the final edit. Step 2 is to make your pacing invisible. There's a bit of a misconception that speed makes a video interesting. It doesn't. It's flow that does the work. Of course, if a moment in a video does drag, then absolutely you should trim it. But if it feels rushed, you want to let this moment breathe. A quick trick you can try here is to exclusively edit the audio of a video. What I mean by that is close your eyes and just listen to the video. If it sounds too rushed or too slow, it probably is. Now, what you should be ruthlessly cutting is the video friction. And what I mean by that is dead air, awkward moments that weren't supposed to be in the video, filler words, and yeah, all of that stuff. And jump cuts are absolutely fine. And the best way to hide it is to have maybe a little zoom in or zoom out so it hides that moment between the transitions of the two clips. Step 3 is to keep the viewer visually stimulated. If your video allows it, every 10 seconds or so, something visually in the video should change. Now, that doesn't mean chaos. It simply means motion, clarity, payoff. This might be adding in some B-roll to show what you're talking about. It could be some text or numbers to indicate key points or facts. Or it could simply be a cut to reset the viewer's attention. Basically, motion matters. Even a subtle zoom in or a pan makes the video feel more alive, and you've seen plenty of them in this video. All right, we're on to step 4 now, and remember we said audio is really important, so let's balance your sound. Good audio mixing simply makes your videos far more enjoyable to listen to. So here's a pretty simple checklist to follow. Throughout all of your clips, keep your voice at a really steady level, and music should always sit under your voice. Far too many creators push the volume of their music up to make it sound interesting, and the problem is, I can't hear you. And if you're going to use music, add soft fades so it doesn't jarringly come in and disappear at moments in your videos, unless you're being really intentional with it. And something that's really worth doing is listening back to a video on a mobile phone, because those speakers are the worst, and that's how most of your audience is likely to watch your content. Now, step 5 is somewhat optional, but add emotion through music and pauses. Music should serve a purpose. It shouldn't just be used for the sake of using music. So pick one main track that fits your vibe, and then when the tone of the video shifts, change the music. And don't forget this: silence is just as powerful. And the final step is to stop being an editor and transform yourself into a viewer. This is where you detach yourself from the effort and the emotion that went into the video. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the viewer does not care how much you put into the video. They only care about how much value they can extract out of it. So if you can, leave a video for 48, 72 hours, try to forget about it, and then watch it again as a viewer. Ask yourself these type of questions. Did I get bored at any point in the video? Did I understand everything in the video? Did I smile or learn or feel something about the video? If it does have a transformative effect on you, and you know who you're talking to with your target audience, then that video is onto a winner. Unsurprisingly, your first video edit will take a lot longer than what you think. And that's absolutely normal. Every creator learns pacing, rhythm, and storytelling by actually doing it over and over again. So don't rush to make your first edit perfect. Simply make it clear. Make it watchable. Make it yours. And that is your first YouTube video done and dusted. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty exhausted right now. But I also feel fulfilled, excited, fueled by passion, and by this time tomorrow, I'll be ready to tackle this YouTube adventure all over again. And I sincerely hope you feel exactly the same way when you finish your first YouTube video. So yeah, congratulations. Seriously, take a moment to appreciate that, because 90% of people who say they're going to start a YouTube channel never do. You just have. You're ahead of the game. And now comes the fun part. Actually pressing this button. And I've got you covered for that. Because if you thought making your first video was tricky enough, wait until that video hits the YouTube algorithm. So before you press publish on your first YouTube video, I'll guide you through how to upload it properly to the platform so it has the best possible chance to succeed.